Good morning, students. Today we will take a chapter potentisation. Previously, we have seen the scales of potentisation, centesimal scale, decimal scale, and 50 millisimal scale. So, how these scales are prepared, that process is known as the potentisation. This is a very important method in the homeopathy. Initially, it was introduced by Dr. Hahnemann, and this is a speciality of the homeopathy. Dr. Hahnemann was started approving of the drug and treating the patient with the crude drug substances, and he found that it causes unnecessary aggravation of the symptoms, and that's why he want to decrease the material thing from that drug. So to prevent the harassment of the patient, to decrease the unnecessary aggravation, he started giving smaller and smaller doses, and then he came to the theory, law of minimum dose, and the theory of potentization. So in the fifth volume of the chronic diseases, he defines homeopathic dynamization or the potentization are processes by which the medicinal properties which are latent in natural substances while in their crude state became arose and then became enabled to act in an almost spiritual manner in our life, that is in our sensible and irritable fiber. This development of properties of crude natural substances takes place in case of dry substances by means of trituration in the mortar. But in case of fluid drug substances, we can do succussion, which is also a trituration. This is mentioned in the fifth edition or in the fifth volume of chronic diseases. The different pioneers also given their view on this potentization. So Stuart Close said that homeopathic dynamization is the mathematico-mechanical process for the reduction according to scale of crude, inert and poisonous drug substances to a state of physical solubility, physiological assimilability and therapeutic activity and harmlessness for the use as homeopathic healing remedies. So this is nothing but a process by which the inherited or the passive property of that drug will arise into the activity. The doctrine of drug dynamization was introduced into the homeopathy through the fifth edition of the Organon of Medicine, which was published in the year 1833. Now, we will see the definition of this potentization or the word dynamization. So this potentization means it is a mathematico-mechanical process. Mathematico means we are taking the drug substance or we are taking the vehicle in a proper proportion. The ratio is there. We have seen in the centesimal scale, the ratio of the drug substance and the vehicle is 1 is to 99. While in the decimal scale, the ratio is 1 is to 9. In the 50 millisimal scale, that ratio changes to 1 is to 50,000. So, it is a mathematics, how to take it and how to do the potentization with the proper amount of drug substance and the proper vehicle, and hence the word mathematical use it. Mechanical means we are using our hands, we are either we are using our hands or we are using the machines, and that's why it's a mechanical where we are using our muscular force, then we use the word mechanical, and hence it is a mathematico mechanical process by virtue of which यानी उससे होगा क्या तो inherited dormant dynamic curative power of the drug. Inherited means it is transferred from that leaves to leaves, it is transferred from fruit, it is transferred to the root. Dormant means which is not active. Dynamic means which we cannot see, but it is present. We can see only the effect of that drug, but we cannot see the constituent of that drug, but they are present in a dynamic level. Curative property of a drug is arose or it is increased by modifying drug strength or the drug power to dynamic power. So what we are doing, we are increasing this property, that is which use for the curing of the patient, the cure of the disease which is present in that particular crude drug substance, in the drug substance passively. So what we are doing, we are activating that power, we are activating that property through simultaneous and successive process of dilation and friction in definite order according to pharmacopoeias. So by giving the certain strokes, by collision, we are increasing, we are in, we want to modify the property of that drug so that it will be useful for the curing of the patient. So this is the proper definition of the potentization, where we are arousing the dormant property of that particular drug substance. So, what are the objects of potentization? To avoid unnecessary medicinal aggravation and side effects by a continued process of reducing the material quantity of a drug. So, yesterday, before the scales, in the scales of potentization and in the 50 millisiemel scale also, we have seen the three types of aggravation: homeopathic aggravation, medicinal aggravation, and the disease aggravation. So disease aggravation, and in the medicinal aggravation, we have to change our medicine or we have to give the antidote. So to reduce this unnecessary aggravation, we have to give the medicine in the form of minimum dose, and for that the material quantity of the dose should be reduced, which is the first objective of potentization. The medicinal properties which are latent in natural substances while in their crude state became awakened and developed into the activity to an incredible degree only by potentization. This is the second objective of the potentization. The requisite medicine must also be a dynamic in nature. For example, in the crude state or the large doses, many poisons and the narcotics may bring the harm to the patient and they may be a fatal, but their benefit can be arose, or we can take the benefit of that poisonous substances when we are doing the dynamization. So this, by this dynamization, we are using the certain poisons also. For example, arsenic, mercury, potassium cyanide, then strychnine, lacases, crotalus. So all these animal products also we are using only by the process of potentization. The substances which are mechanically inert in their crude state are thus rendered active and effective for healing the sick. For example, nitramune, our common salt, which if you are using in a large quantity, so this will increases your blood pressure, this will causes sweating, this will causes the dehydration. But if that common salt is get potentized properly, then that medicine became a nitramute, which is helpful for the curing the disease and the sick person. Silesia. Silesia is nothing but the silesia that we cannot think that it can be used for the medicinal purpose, but that silesia is very good remedy to cure the sick. In this way, we can arouse the activity of that particular crude drug substance only by the potentization. And dynamic word is here is used here because the vital force is dynamic and the disease force is also dynamic, and hence the medicine which is required to cure this the dynamic disease, or to cure or to free that vital force from the dynamic effect, we have to use the medicine which is dynamic, and hence we are doing the potentization. The more the drug we potentize, greater the dynamic medicinal power increase in the incredible degree. It will help to neutralize the drug through its latent pathogenetic power. So the potentization will also help to individualize the drug from the other uh, from the other two drug substances. Then the potentization not only preserves the therapeutic potentiality, but also it is increases the pharmacological and therapeutic activity of that particular drug. Then the abnormal susceptibilities, constitution, mechanisms, they can help to cure by the dynamic and the deep action of that drug. This is not only possible by potentized medicines, but it is helpful by the minimum dose also. The actions of potentized medicines are deeper, longer, and they are more widespread. So, the medicinal qualities of other drugs, which are more or less active in their natural state, are enhanced and the sphere of action are broadened by this process. So, these are the certain objectives of objects of the potentization. So, by keeping these objects, Dr. Haniman has started the drug potentization. So, if we are getting all these advantages, if we are not getting the side effects, if we are not getting the unnecessary aggravation, if it became a dynamic in nature, then if it is a broad spectrum, its pharmacological and therapeutic activities, if it is arose, if that medicine will act deeper, longer, then why we should not do the dynamization, and hence the different followers or the pioneers, they are using this potentization. Then what are the effects of this potentization, what we are getting by doing this potentization? So the quantitative reduction but qualitative increase of the therapeutic activity of that drug. Though the quantity decreases, as we have seen in the decimal scale or in the centesimal scale, the ratio is 1 is to 9 or 1 is to 99 or 1 is to 50,000. So only the one part of that drug substance is get diluted with the 999 or the 50,000 part of that vehicle. That vehicle may be the solid, that vehicle may be the liquid, but because of that, the dynamic level increases, the therapeutic activity of that particular drug substance increases. So this is the effect of the potentization. Second is increase in the potential energy determined by different scales. So the potential energy, we know through the physics, the potential energy is the resting energy which is present in every object. Unless and until the force is applied, that object will not move, that we have seen in the Newton's first law of motion, that is the law of inertia. So same thing is applied here also. The energy, every thing in the universe is having the energy, and that resting energy, that we called it as the inertia or the potential energy. So if you activate that potential energy, if you giving the force, then that potential energy will be converted into the kinetic energy, that is a moving energy. So here also we are converting this kinetic energy into potential energy into the kinetic energy by the dynamization. Then third is elimination of toxic products. And thus I said earlier, we are using the poisons here, arsenic, mercury, poisons of snakes. So if you are taking the arsenic, it will lead to the poisoning. But we are doing the potentization with the by of that arsenic, and that's why the toxic effect of that arsenic became eliminated. And the last one is gaining of the maximum potential energy or the dynamic power. So what we are gaining? We are gaining the maximum effect of that potential energy or the dynamic power which is present in that drug, and that will be converted into the kinetic energy, that will be converted into the curative power, we can say. So these are the certain effects of the potentization. Then what we are doing in the potentization, or what is the phenomenon of that potentization? So we are doing the potentization includes the two phenomena, or we can say we are doing the dilution and we are doing the friction with the drug substance and with that vehicle. Then what are the factors which are considered in the potentization? So we are considering the nature of the drug and the solvent of the solvent, or we can say it as a vehicle which is useful for potentization. The relation between the factors. The first is the solid vehicle, that is the sugar of milk, and liquid vehicles. We can use here the water. We can use ethyl alcohol. We can use dispensing alcohol. So these are the vehicles what we are using for the potentization. Then we are doing the two processes in the potentization. So trituration in case of insoluble substances and succussion in case of soluble drug substances. So these are the factors, that means these are the important things which we required in the trituration and in the succussion. That is, if the nature of the drug is insoluble, then we will use trituration, and if the drug substance is soluble in water or in the liquid vehicle, then we are doing the succussion. So the solid vehicle we are using in trituration, and liquid vehicle we are using in succussion. Then we will discuss now about the trituration. So this trituration is doing in the drug substances which are insoluble. If it is not soluble in the liquid vehicle, then we are doing the trituration here. So trituration we are doing in the centesimal scale and in the decimal scale. This we have seen the centesimal scale and the decimal scale is denoted by X and C respectively. So what is trituration? It is an ideal physical mathematical process of potentization by which preparation of medicine takes place by the use of solid vehicle, that is a sugar of milk, by grinding in definite order according to the pharmacopoeia. So this is an ideal physical because we are doing it, or the machines will do it. Mathematical, again I have said earlier, according to the ratio, according to the scale, we are taking the drug substance and the vehicle. A process of potentization by which the preparation of medicine takes place, but the nature of drug substance is solid, which is insoluble in liquid vehicle. And what we are doing here, we are doing the grinding, we will do the scrapping. So all these things are doing, but according to the rules. The rules are under the pharmacopoeia. So this is the definition of trituration. The vehicle, of course, sugar of milk. Then the substances, we are the dry insoluble, it may be the liquid insoluble, or and the origin may be vegetable and animal. So why we are doing, or what are the advantages that we will get it from the trituration? So these drug substances can infinitely divided. So this is the first advantage or first merit of this process, that is the trituration. By the process of trituration, that drug substance will indefinitely get divided. Second is insoluble substances in the liquid vehicle became soluble for trituration. So जो insoluble substances है which are not able to dissolve in the liquid vehicle, but still उसका अगर आपको trituration, उसका potentization करना है, so the method is trituration. The third one is the medicinal property of the drug which is remains latent, may by this process it became active. The fourth advantage is that the curative power of the drug is increased by this process by reducing quantity of the drug. Certain drug substances which are insoluble in alcohol or in purified water, there is no alternative method but only in a trituration. For example, arsenic, calcareacum, argenticum nitricum, alumina, carbovage, zincum made, or the liquid drug substances such as lacasis, then the protontic, lysine. So these petroleum products, so by which we can do the trituration. Certain fresh vegetables and animals are also including in it, such as Blata orientalis or the Madorinum, Blata americans. So all these drug substances can be used for the trituration. By the trituration, what is happening? the surface area and the surface tension of the drug is increases. Then the by increasing the surface area and final division, the absorption power or the colloidal property and the catalytic effect of the drug substance increases. So these are the certain merits of the trituration. And as I am always saying, if there are the advantages, then there are also disadvantages. So the disadvantages or the demerits of trituration is that, of course, as we have all experiencing in the lab or we have previously experienced, it's a long process. So the process is very long, the time taken and the labor spent is too much. Some are of opinion that there is no necessity of dividing the vehicles into the three equal parts. With experimental evidence, they suggest that by triturating the whole vehicle with a medicine at a stretch gives the same result. So this is the opinion. In our lab, we are dividing the sacrum lactis according to the scale. It may be 333 gram in the decimal scale or 33 in centesimal scale. So depending upon your view, we are doing the trituration. Second thing is that uh, the sugar of milk has got the aldehydes. The aldehyde property that you have seen in your 12th standard, ERCH double bond O. So this property is present. It is found to reduce some substances like mercury during the trituration. In such cases, the cane sugar, which has got less aldehyde property, will prove to be a greater vehicle. So we have seen how the sugar of milk of that SL we are preparing. So we are preparing it from the different starchy drugs of material and from the cane sugar also. So the mercury-like substances, here we are using cane saccharum lactis, which is made from the cane sugar. Then the though the sugar of milk is appreciably hard or the gritty, it does not cause any disturbances of the substances which are harder than itself, like some hard metals. So it will not changes the property of that drug substance. So these are the certain demerits of the trituration. It consumes the time. Then that it divided that sugar of milk divide करना है या नहीं है. The second thing is that कि insoluble substances of the soluble substances कभी कभी थोड़ा सा problem आता है for the trituration, but though it is having the certain demerit, the merit is that we are activating the uh, passive power into the activeness. We are activating the latent power of that drug substance. Then the modern method of trituration is also available. In general process of potentization, the quantity of trituration cannot be increased properly without modifying other conditions. But in doing so, the quality of the resulting trituration may be the inferior. But due to the increased demand of trituration and better homeopathic medicines, as well as to increase the productivity and to minimize the cost of the production, the mechanical devices are being employed nowadays that we have seen in our field visit in the shop. Different machines are available for the trituration. In this method, all sorts of measures are taken to retain the quality. So it is feasible to give a strict rule for such mechanical appliances in their interdepartment details. Nowadays, the trituration is done by machine in which the mortar and vessels are rotated by machines that we have seen in the showbase. So you will get it very easily, the modern method of trituration. Now, the second process of the potentization is the succussion. Succussion, it is again a process of potentization of medicinal substances which are soluble in liquid vehicle, particularly in the alcohol by downward friction. So here we are giving strokes to that medicine. The succussion comes from the Latin word uh, succusum succator, meaning shaking up. The vehicle we are using here are the preferably alcohol and water. Generally, the alcohol is used in most of the cases. If you are preparing the medicine from the old method, then in the class 1, 2, 3, 4, and the class 6th in the old method, we are using the alcohol. The substances taken for the succussion, of course, they are soluble in the alcohol and they are soluble in the purified water. Then by this succussion we are producing the potency, but before that we will see the procedure for that succussion. So what is the principle? One part of volume of the drug substance of the previous potency we have to take, and we have to add 9 or 99 parts of the vehicle according to the scale, and then we are giving the 10 downward strokes in the centesimal and the decimal scale by using the rubber pad. We are moving our hand, and we are doing the collision, or we are giving the stroke on that leather pad. The 10 downward strokes we are giving in the centesimal and the decimal scale, and 100 downward strokes we are giving in the 50 millisievert scale. The stroke should be forceful, it should be successive, and each stroke ends in a jerk with a uniform distance and with a uniform strength. The hand enclosing the file should go beyond the level of the level of the shoulder, but not beyond the level of our upper limit of our pinna. The product is the potency. So in this way, we are giving the strokes. Regarding the number of strokes to give in each potency, Hahnemann himself has changed his mind in several times. In the fifth edition of Organon, the medicine he uses only the 2 strokes, but later on he increases the strokes by 10 and then to the 100. So in this way, we are preparing the potency by the trituration and by the succussion. So these are the certain merits, demerits of the uh, trituration, or the we can say the succussion, but the certain precautions also we have to take for the this process. And the precaution should be, the stroke should be proper in case of succussion. The trituration should be done properly. The drug substance should be measured properly. It should be the 1 is to 99 or 1 is to 9, whatever, it should be proper. When you are doing the trituration, the mortar and pestle should be clean. When you are doing the succussion, the file should be clean. Then systematically rubbing process should be there in the trituration. Then the utensils should be perfectly clean. And after the trituration, after the completion of 1 hour, it should be cleaned properly so that we can use it for the next potency or for the next drug. The process should be done in the dry atmosphere and the warm atmosphere. There should be a moderate temperature. There should not be any dust. So these certain precautions we should take when we are doing the potentization. So next time we will see the proper process of the trituration and the potency with their type. So there are the 3 types of potency: flexion potency, high flexion potency, and straight potency. So they are all under the succussion. So next lecture or the next time we will see the how the trituration, or what is the representation, schematic representation, or what is the proper way of doing the trituration plus succussion, and these 3 types of potency. So read this potentization again from your book, and um, do in read all the precautions, all the usefulness and the demerits of this potentization or the trituration. And if you have any difficulty, you can ask me at any time. The scientific approach of the homeopathic drug potentization is also given by Dr. Hahnemann. He believed that the substances which are medicinally inert in their crude state are thus became active and effective for the healing of that sick person by the process of trituration and succussion. For example, that I am always giving the example of nitramure, that is a sodium chloride, what we call it as a common salt, the crystals, which are inert substance, but it is having the immense medicinal value when it became powerful, and when its power is increases by the trituration and by the succussion. The quantity of the drug in the homeopathic dose is very very small, in order that 10 raised to the power minus 30 or 100 raised to the power 100. So we cannot measure it scientifically with the help of instruments or by any technique, but we are getting the results from it. As the homeopathic medicine is too small in quantity, its chemical interaction with the other things, it is not possible, but it will show the medicinal effect. If you are taking it from the Avogadro's number, the presence of material in the homeopathic medicine, they are beyond the molar concentration, because it tends to the power 10, minus 10, or it may be the minus 12. It is a negative quantity. It seems to be impractical in the laboratory to measure it, but it will give the realistic effect. It helps to cure the patient. In homeopathy, the crude drug substances are potentized by this method, trituration and succussion. Trituration may be the considered as a successive dilution with a vigorous uh, what we call friction, or the succussion is the vigorous shaking of that medicine, by which the polar solvents, that is the alcohol and the water we are using, by making the trituration is the process by which the medicine results in the microemulsion solution. uh, the trituration process of the medicine results in microemulsion solution of medicine in the solvent, water or alcohol, developing a definite charge. So we know the polar compound and non-polar compound from your 12th standard. So polar, the water is a polar compound, and by which it increases the charges. Further, the trituration of microemulsion solutions result in super microemulsion solution with a less charge density. The charge of microemulsion particles are accelerated with the trituration, resulting in the emulsion of electromagnetic waves. So we are saying that we are going more towards the dynamic level. Thus, in the potentization process, due to the absorption of electromagnetic waves, very, very light isotopic molecules of medicinal materials are created. These are a light or weightless isotopic molecules of medicinal material retain the properties of original drug substances. So this is the view, or this can be a scientific view behind this potentization. Hence, the massless particle, just like particles of the light, they are produces, but they are having the property of curing the patient. This dynamic power is useful for curing the patient. Since the homeopathic potentized medicine are harmless, and they are massless particles, but they are having the energy, and that energy is responsible for curing the natural disease. So this is the scientific background, or this is the what we can say, the scientific approach of homeopathy for the potentization. Hence, this potentization is important for the curing of the natural disease as well as the curing of the patient. So next time we will see the proper method of trituration, succussion, and these types of potency. So if you have any problem, you can ask me anytime. Okay, bye bye.